The story begins with Eiya, whose friend is complaining that her boyfriend left her to date another man. Eiya requests a meeting since she's curious. When they meet, the boyfriend Yuuga, Eiya asks why he chose him over her. Yuuga says he will explain himself if either of them manage to guess the relationship of a nearby couple. She guessed they were meeting for the first time, and probably met each other on a dating site or something. Impressed by Aya's answer, he asks to meet her alone. Later, he texts her tell her to meet him at 2 p.m. at Inokashira Park, where he explains that he was only trying to make the breakup easier. He then shows her a device called slave control method, which, if worn by two persons during a competition, will force the loser into subservience, making them a slave to the winner. Once enslaved by another SCM user, a slave can only be freed on that person's command. Then he asks her to join him in testing the SCM as his partner, so that she can convince his master to release him should he lose a contest and become enslaved. Seeing a chance to change her life, Eiya agrees. Meanwhile, a woman named Lucy trying to get revenge on her rapist by playing game of pachinko. If he wins, she will let it happen to him again. The rules: whoever has the most balls at the end of the hours wins. Before starting the game, she requests that he put on the SCM without realizing what he was getting himself into. After a while, the rapist is taking the lead. However, Lucy calls the staff member to bring all the balls that she wins from earlier this morning. As a result, Julie wins the game and then torturing him as her slave. Seiya Shinjuku and Ayaka Tashima have a duel with the game of rock, paper, scissors, with Ayaka emerging victorious. Ayaka commands Seiya to participate in sexual activity with her, as revenge for being treated as just a cash cow, and more specifically to further ruin his relationship with his ex-girlfriend Julia Katsushika. Yuuga and Eiya meet at the cafe. Yuuga said that he found the first opponent by using the application map shows the position of anyone wearing an SCM. The square symbols means initialed, slaves are triangles, and masters are circles. When two people wearing SCM get close enough, a vibrating alert goes off. Later that night, the two are challenged to a 2-on-2 duel with Eiya and Yuuga, to a game of thumbs up. However, it was a trick as Eiya was not wearing a SCM and Seiya bails, leading to Eiya and Yuuga emerging victorious. Yuuga releases the two from their obligations as slaves, but they are not allowed to participate in any duels with other SCM users. That night, Seiya reflects on how the SCM ruined his relationship with Julia, and Julia appears. Seiya says it's his fault and he won't let her go anymore while holding her hands. But Julie took this opportunity to duel, telling him if he let go of his hand, he will lose. She took out the SCM and put it on. She explains that you can take out an SCM for a short period of time. That's how she able to get close to him without the alarm going off. After telling him she is now a slave by Ryo, he was shocked and Julia wins a duel against Seiya after letting go of her hand to make him her slave. Shiori Adachi, a worker at a cosplay cafe where she plays a princess, and Teiju Nakano, a frequent customer at the cafe. After her work, a woman approached her and said she wanted to be a slave. Later he took out the SCM and explained how it works. They engage in a duel to see whose boyfriend spends the most money on them during their dates. Teiju takes an early lead, but Shiori catches up. However, after going to the apartment of one of the boyfriends, Shiori gets drugged and Teiju comes to her rescue when he reveals that he is a man who had wanted to become her slave. With Teiju winning the duel, Shiori becomes her slave. But it does not last long as Shinichi Bunkayo arrives and threatens to kill Shiori if she did not agree to duel him in a punch-out contest, the two of them becoming Shinichi's slave. Teiju runs and hides and Shiori is left behind. He met Julia, who was passing by. Teiju explains what happened and asking for help. Teiju gets help from Julia. However, Adaruchuo does not completely trust Teiju. He then wanted Teiju and Julia to duel, just to make sure he will keep his promise and be an ally. Teiju agree and become her slave. Arriving at Julie's location, the dog Zushiomaru arrives to beat up Shinichi, who is also wearing a SCM. After the encounter, he becomes a slave to Zushiomaru as he unknowingly agreed to a duel with the dog. Afterwards, Ryo's colleague Adaruchu takes Shiori and Teiju with him to Ryo, while sending Shinichi to the hospital. However, the owner of the dog is Eiya. She takes Zushiomaru with her, as she and Yuuga let Adaru know that they are out to release slaves from the SCM. The next day, Zero Shinagawa is approached by a mysterious boy claiming to want revenge against the person who beat up his father, causing permanent brain damage. Zero is pressured to agree, and he puts on the SCM, engaging in a trivia contest with Adaru. The app will randomly display a trivia question from a list of 10,000, Whoever answers 3 questions correctly first wins. After a while, Zero answered 1 correct and the boy answered 2. However, it was a trap as the boy, revealed to be Ryo, was actually the person Zero challenged. Zero loses the duel and becomes Ryo's slave. Ryo orders Zero to obey Ataru, but he runs away, had to be chased down. A tied-up Zero tells Ataru that a voice in his head told him to run, indicating that there's a potential flaw with the SCM. Julia report that Shinichi escapes from the hospital and receive a letter written in blood by someone identifying himself as a crazy person. Yuuga received the same letter written in blood. Yuuga decides that he will challenge him, but Eiya objects as she does not approve of Yuuga's approach to add as many slaves as possible. Eiya takes Zushiomaru and decides to end her working relationship. However, he threatens to kill Ayaka by having her freeze in the bathtub to get around the law that forbids killing slaves. So he uses that threat to pressure her into working once again for him. Eiya reluctantly has Zushiomaru challenge Ayaka to a duel to eat utensils. Zushiomaru tries to eat the plate but Eiya stops him, leading to him becoming Yuuga's slave through Ayaka. Not wanting to see Zushiomaru or Ayaka hurt any further, Eiya agrees to work with Yuuga. Zushiomaru's backstory is explained as he inadvertently ran away from home when he chased a dog he loved. Professor Sumida, who was doing research on the SCM, found him and adopted him. One day, Sumida's colleague Sangaya drugged him and stole Sumida's research, leading him to quit his job as a professor. Zushiomaru puts on the SCM to get revenge on Sangaya, but he hasn't met him since. On the next day, Yuuga meets the crazy person, Fujiko Tato, and she drugs him with a substance that gets him to unconsciously challenge her to a duel where the loser is the one who sees their mother first. Yuuga is tied up, prompting her mother to see him, thus making Fujiko the winner. That night, Yuuga received a message that ordered him to capture Eiya and Zushiomaru. He went to an abandoned warehouse and suddenly a taser was pointed at him in the back wearing a mask. Then he challenged to a game of rock, paper, scissors by a masked person. She defeats him in the fight and is revealed to be Eiya. Eiya has since put on the SCM in order to free the slaves that have been taken control by the device, starting with Yuuga. Then he will wipe SCM from existence. Eiya used the map to find a girl named Sashi Shibuya and forced her into becoming her slave. After breaking up with Seiya, Julia was hired by Ryo's mother to babysit him while she is out working several jobs to pay off a huge debt. Having been introduced to the SCM, Ryo decides to help pay off the debt by taking in slaves. He makes Julia his first slave, easily beating her in a game of count-up. Fujiko challenges Ryo to a game of capture the flag using their team of slaves. Julia shocks herself near a pool of water surrounding the flag to prevent Fujiko's slaves from reaching it, due to the mechanism that prevents them from following orders that would harm them. Therefore, Ryo wins and now owns Fujiko and her 4 slaves. After the battle, Julia infiltrates a high school disguised as a student to investigate the star-shaped SCM that appears on the map, while Fujiko also goes disguised as the school's substitute nurse. There, she finds out that the SCM user is Setagaya, and he has the Judgment SCM that can instantly enslave SCM wearers without a duel. Then Julia receives a message that one of student were found someone who has an SCM. While waiting for Fujiko, she meets Setagaya and Minami Kita. As Fujiko approached Julie from behind, she gave her a substance to sleep. Now Fujiko and Julia become Setagaya's slaves as a result. Meanwhile, Eiya challenges the wealthy businessman Muon Naruma to a duel, seeking his fortune to free the slaves. The two duel to see who makes the most money in 2 hours. Eiya makes money being a street performer with one of her slaves giving her a ton of money, while Naruma gathers all the available assets from his company's stores. Then Yuuga disguises himself as a loan shark to loan him 10 million yen, thinking that he had more than enough to win. Naruma stops gathering assets, and Eiya only gather 1 million yen. However, the loan money burns just moments before the deadline, leading to Eiya winning, thus making Naruma her slave. I only covered 1 to 8 episodes. The anime name is in description box. Thank you for watching.